Apple Intelligence and Shortcuts is still blowing my mind. With it, I built an entire food tracker and scanner with a shortcut. You can now get a summary of any podcast, no transcription required. If you have a bunch of music album artwork, Apple Intelligence can rename it just by looking at the image. I made an ultimate save anything to read or watch later shortcut. There's a new screen time action in iOS 26, and I used the Bitly API to create the ultimate URL shortener. And in case you missed it, I was actually on the Vergecast defending shortcuts against David Pierce. I'll link that podcast episode in the description. But let's get into 15 plus new shortcuts. First up, I don't know when it happened, but ChatGPT can now provide summaries, key points, and takeaways from an Apple Podcast episode without having to transcribe it. This simple shortcut works on every episode I've tried directly in Apple Podcasts. But let's jump over to Podcasts and actually test it out. This is not going to work for RSS feeds that you've added to Apple Podcasts. It has to be something in Apple Podcasts directly. But just so you see, here are the show notes for this episode of Rethinking. I'm going to choose my Summarized Podcast GPT Easy. It's going to send the link to this episode to ChatGPT. Then I'm going to get a summary, even timestamps and key takeaways from this episode. And that quickly, here I have the summary and key takeaways. You can ask it for timestamps in the prompt. But as you can see, this is much more detailed than just the episode description. I think this is actually pulling from the Apple Podcast transcript, which Apple actually transcribes every episode, whether the creator provides it or not. I'll do another example. This is the Smartless podcast, which again, very short description, not really much information about what's in the episode, but I'll run the shortcut. And as you can see, a lot more detail from the actual episode, and it'll even give you some timestamps of topics. Here's one more, an episode of Reconcilable Differences, which again, description is pretty short. And here you get some bullet points, takeaways, and chapter timestamps. And there's details here that the GPT summary is giving me that you don't get in the episode show notes at all. So link to that shortcut and all the others I'm going to mention are down in the video description. Now the next one, I created an entire food scanner and tracker in a single shortcut. So what this does is you can either scan barcode of food or take a picture, have ChatGPT estimate the calories, protein, and other macros. And it's actually going to log that information both in an Apple Note, one note for the day, and log it in Apple Health. It's a really long shortcut, so I'll just show you a couple examples. For instance, if I run it and I ask it for today's totals, it's actually going to pull information from an Apple Note where I've been adding foods throughout the day, and it's also going to pull information from Apple Health. Now I actually track some things with the Food Noms app, and that information is in Apple Health, that's why it's a little different. But this way you have 2 points of data so you can actually match what's being saved to Apple Notes, what's being saved to Apple Health. Then when you want to enter information, you can run this shortcut and then choose either a ChatGPT estimate from a photo, taking a new photo or choosing one from your library, or you can scan a barcode. When you choose scan barcode, it opens the camera app, the barcode scanner. Just put a barcode in view of your phone. It's going to use the Open Foods API. It's going to look up that food. You see it actually got it right there. Shows you the calories, protein, and fats here in this little window. And then it's actually going to log that information both to Apple Health and to an Apple Note. I also put a little vibrate device and a check mark to let you know that the food was actually logged. Now that I log that, 2 things are going to happen. In my Apple Notes, there's going to be 1 note per day. The shortcut automatically detects whether the note already exists. If it doesn't exist, it'll create it new. But every time you scan something or add something with ChatGPT, it's going to append the note with that food's information. This way you can always go back and check what it is you were eating. And this is going to use Apple Intelligence to calculate those total numbers every time you run it. So now that I added a new food, I'm going to run the today's total part of the shortcut again, and you'll see everything was adjusted with that new food I just scanned via barcode. Now, you can also use ChatGPT to estimate it from a photo. So I'll run this again. I'll choose ChatGPT estimate, and now it's going to ask whether I want to take a photo or select one from the library. I'll select a photo. I'm going to choose these street tacos I had the other day. It's going to send that to ChatGPT. It's going to estimate the calories, protein, fats, and carbs. You'll see the estimate right here in the window. I can tap done. And once again, it's going to log it to Apple Health automatically and also put it in that Apple Note. If I go over to the Apple Note, you'll see it just appended it to the bottom, Street Taco Trio right there. And if I run this shortcut and ask for today's totals, it's going to keep all of that information calculated together. And now I've logged the tacos multiple times. That's why there's a lot of calories there. But you can see there's a total from Apple Notes. And if you're logging things into Apple Health through other apps like Food Noms or MyFitnessPal, then you're going to see those totals from Apple Health down here. But you can have an entire food tracker in one shortcut, even scanning barcodes off foods right here. Next, someone from my shortcuts community, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, asked for an ultimate save for later shortcut, meaning whatever it is, a website, a news article, a video on YouTube, that this can be saved to Apple Notes or wherever you'd like, and it'll run in the share sheet no matter what. So I call this my Save for Later shortcut, and this works on anything. So if you're looking at a website or an article, I can run the share button. You'll see my Save for Later shortcut right here. The first time you run it, you're going to have to hit Always Allow on a couple dialog boxes, but it's going to get the title, a quick summary, and a link to whatever you're saving, and it's going to save it to Apple Notes just that quickly. Now you can have this saved to a single folder in Apple Notes, like a Save for Later folder. This way everything's in one place, but it works on any kind of content. So that was a web article. Let's go to a YouTube video. I can choose a video here, go to Share. For YouTube, you got to go over to the More section, and then you have access to your share sheet. There's my Save for Later shortcut. It's going to do the same thing, ask for permissions, click Always Allow every time. You should only have to do that the first time you run it on a different piece of content, but it's going to get the title, the link, and a short description, and it's going to save it to Apple Notes once again. Title of the note is the article or video title, short description, and a link back to that piece of content. And I've even made this shortcut work with Apple News articles. Let's say you're in Apple News, you hit the share button, I'll choose my Save for Later shortcut right here, and you see it'll still go to Apple Notes, title of the article, description, and link. This can even work on social media posts. Here on Instagram, I'll go to Share To. Also follow me on Instagram at Stephen Robles. I'll choose Save for Later, tap Always Allow. It's going to send that through Apple Intelligence once more. And there we go, created a note, title, description, and link. And so if you want to save these to a specific folder, in the shortcut, just go to the very bottom, expand this action, and where it says category, you can choose a specific folder or have some variables in here that will actually add it to a category automatically. So if you want to create these folders, articles, social media post, YouTube, create those folders in your Apple Notes, and then keep the shortcut as is, and it will save each piece of content to the corresponding folder. Now, if you want to see me build these shortcuts live and even send in requests in real time, join my shortcuts community, go to shortcut.bot. You can join for free, and there are several areas where there's over 2,400 members submitting their own shortcuts, asking for shortcuts help. But if you support the community at $10 a month or $100 a year, if you were already supporting, by the way, you still have that cheaper price, you get access to my weekly live streams. I'm going to stream every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, showing you brand new shortcuts, taking requests in real time, and showing you the behind the scenes of how I build them. Plus, you get access to every live stream replay, so you can go back and watch all the live streams from the previous weeks, and I put links to all the shortcuts that I talk about from the live stream here in the post. Plus, you get access to my shortcuts database, priority requests, shortcuts GPT, and my shortcut of the week. All those benefits in my shortcuts community. You can join at shortcut.bot, and stay tuned, because if you really want to learn shortcuts from a 101 level, getting started, how to build them yourself, I have some exciting announcements coming very soon. If you want to be the first to hear about that, visit shortcutsuniversity.com. More info soon. Now, this next shortcut works on all your devices, but I'm going to show you on the Mac just because it's a bigger screen. And this is using Apple Intelligence again with the ChatGPT extension. And if you have a bunch of image files on your computer that's maybe music album artwork for your library, Apple Intelligence and ChatGPT can actually rename those files based on what they are, the content, not just the file name. So you'll see here I have a folder. There's a bunch of album artwork. It's just album 789. But when I run this shortcut, I can select these files. ChatGPT is going to rename each file with the actual album name. So when I click play, it asks me to choose files. So I'm going to select all those album files at the same time. I'll click open, and what it's doing, it's sending each image to ChatGPT so we can actually find the album name based on what it looks like. And as you can see, it's renaming each album file in real time. And just like that, it finished renaming them all. And if we take a look, we could see these album names match the album. Pretty wild that it can do that. Now, Apple Intelligence and ChatGPT can do this for any kind of image file and also text or PDF files, renaming it based on the content. It doesn't work yet on videos, but if you wanted to just rename a bunch of files either in the same format, or for instance, this is someone in the community that actually requested this, if all you want to do is make the titles lowercase and then replace spaces with hyphens, I'll also put a link to this shortcut. This is bulk rename files, and it's going to do exactly what I just said. I'm actually going to select all those same files, and it's going to remove spaces, replace it with hyphens, and make every file lowercase. I'll click Always Allow, and if I go to that album artwork, look at that. Everything is now lowercase with hyphens, no spaces, and you can decide how you want to format this in the shortcut. If you want to replace certain characters, add numbers at the end, you can do all of that with a simple shortcut like this. Next, I save a lot of wallpaper image files to my files in a folder. And what this shortcut will do is actually get a random wallpaper from a folder of your choice and then set it on whatever wallpaper lock screen combination you choose. Before you run this shortcut, make sure to choose the right folder here in the first action. I have a folder called iPhone Wallpapers. This has a bunch of different image files, many from Basic Apple Guy, some from Andrew Clare, great YouTube creator. And you'll see it's going to get a random item from those contents. And then the other thing you have to set is tap where it says Wallpaper 8 and choose the lock screen home screen combination that you want to change. So I'm going to select this one. That's actually my filming focus lock screen home screen combination. You can choose whether you want to change the lock and home screen or maybe just the lock screen. I'll just choose that. I'll add it to home screen here. Let's move it down with the other apps. And now I can tap this to run. It's going to run in the background and we're going to see that lock screen change automatically, that quickly. That was a random image file from that folder. I can tap it again. It's going to go through that folder, find another random image, and set it as my lock screen wallpaper. And there it is again. Now you can also automate this to run every morning or at a time of day. Then you can wake up to a new wallpaper from a folder of images that you have saved on your phone. Next, let's talk about a new action in iOS 26. If you want to see screen time for yourself, or maybe you have an iCloud family and you want to see screen time for your kids, this simple shortcut actually pulls app and website activity. You can choose for a certain day like yesterday. You can even choose what device you're pulling from. And if you have an iCloud family, you can actually choose from your family devices where to pull that data. It's going to combine this into a list so you can quickly see it. Then you can create a note that will actually give you a report of that screen time. Or if you just want to show the content so you can quickly see it when you run it, this is way faster than actually going to the screen time app and pulling it. You'll see Shortcuts has been my most minutes here and a bunch of other apps below that. But now you can get a quick report of how many minutes each app has been opened on you or your family's devices. Then I actually created another version. This one starts with a menu so I can choose one of my kids and then it will pull the app and website activity for yesterday for that child. So when I run it, I can choose which of my kids I'm going to check the screen time, and I see it right here in Quick Look. Again, much quicker than going to the screen time settings and actually loading it there. I'm gonna start running it from this shortcut. My two youngest kids have been getting into Sneaky Sasquatch again too. There was a recent update. Next, this was a small change, but in iOS 26, when you create QR codes with Shortcut, I highly recommend doing it this way, by the way, rather than a third-party service, because a lot of times there's like click maximums when you do that. But you can generate it right here in Shortcuts. And if you expand the Create QR Code action right here, foreground color, background color, and rounded corners, these are new options in iOS 26. So now you can add your brand colors and actually make the QR code look a little nicer than just the plain black and white. I'll put a link to this shortcut down below. It's set with my brand color, so if you want to change that, do that. When you run it, you can either pull a URL from your clipboard by tapping copy, or you can manually write a URL. I'll put in my YouTube URL right there. Hit done, and then it's going to generate that QR code in the colors that you chose, and you can either save this to your camera roll, share it in an email or text message, use it however you'd like. And if you ever want to check to make sure the QR code is what you think it is, tap and hold on the image, and iOS is actually going to tell you open in YouTube, open in Safari, or just copy the link, and then you can actually see where that QR code leads once someone scans it. And turns out that one's working correctly. Also new in iOS 26, if you want to add this to maybe your action button or a shortcut menu, this is a new action. It's called Show Quick Reminder, and this is actually going to show that little reminder overlay that you can set also as your action button, but it's a nice little interface for choosing what list you want to add a reminder to, choose the date, location, flag it, and then quickly add a reminder. So a nice little one action shortcut you can have, again, in a shortcut menu or shortcuts folder. But another shortcut someone requested from my community is they're not in a good habit of checking their reminders every day and checking them off, so they want to get a text automatically every day of all the reminders they still have yet to do. So what this shortcut does is gets all your reminders where the due date is today and it is not completed. So you're not going to get reminders texted to you that you've already finished. It combines those quickly and then sends it in a text message. Make sure to actually choose yourself as the recipient. I'll put myself down here and I would toggle off Show Compose Sheet. This way this sends automatically, and then you can add this in an automation for like every day at sunset to get this text message. You can also filter it by lists and things like that, but if I run this shortcut, it's going to send myself a text message, and there's a text that says, hey, these reminders are still undone, my daily podcast, I got to start heating the pool today, and yes, I have a reminder to play Wordle every day. And remember, you can automate this just by going to the Automations tab, tap the plus icon, you can choose time of day, maybe every day at sunset, And you can have this automatically run. Just tap run immediately, don't notify when run, and then search for the shortcut, text undone reminders, tap it, and then you'll get that text message every day. Another request from my community was, can you quickly have photos taken that day added to a shared album? Now there actually is a shared album action in Shortcuts, but it requires a little work on your part. So what this shortcut does is it's going to find all photos that were taken today, and then it's going to repeat with each of those photos, and it's going to ask if you want to add it to the shared album. Now you can't choose a shared album in a Shortcuts action, but it will automatically have the last one you tapped automatically chosen. Now if I run this shortcut, I don't know if I've taken any photos today. Oh yeah, here's a screenshot. And then all I have to do is tap post, and that's going to show you the next photo. It has that shared album already selected at the bottom. Tap post. Then you could quickly share multiple images to a shared album just by keep tapping that post button. I wish you could completely automate it and just have all the photos added automatically, but this should help you do it a little faster, like if you're on vacation or a trip and you want to quickly add the day's photos. Next, I've had several people ask about transcribing voice memos. I actually had someone who's visually impaired in the community ask about creating one where they'll record a voice memo, ChatGPT will check it for proofreading and understandability, and this shortcut actually will read that response back so the person knows it's exactly what they said, then copies that response to the clipboard so they could send it in an email or text message. I'll put a link to this version of the shortcut, but this one's a little more generic. This allows you to transcribe any voice memo on your phone, and you get a detailed summary, plus a full transcript of the voice memo. The reason I'm doing it from voice memo is because the transcribe and dictate action in Shortcuts can time out, or if the screen turns off, sometimes that recording stops. But if you record something with the Voice Memos app, Voice Memos will record for hours even if the screen turns off. And then here in the Voice Memos app, you can run that shortcut just by tapping the 3 dots, then hit share. This is perfect for like meeting notes or meeting recordings. Tap more. Remember to make sure the shortcut shows in the share sheet. It looks like this one's not. So to do that, in any shortcut, tap the eye icon at the bottom and make sure show in share sheet is toggled on. Now you'll be able to run it from the share sheet. Let me go back, hit the share button again. There's my transcribe latest memo GPT. When I tap that, it is going to transcribe it with the built-in transcribe action on iPhone. And here I get the full transcript at the bottom, key takeaways summarized by ChatGPT, all from the recorded voice memo. Now remember, the built-in transcribe action on iPhone and iPad, it'll do about 20-ish minute long recordings, but if you run the same shortcut on the Mac, transcribe action on the Mac will actually transcribe hours long audio. So if you run into any problems, just try running it on your Mac instead of your iPhone or iPad. Next, someone in the community wanted to be able to run this shortcut every Sunday, get the events for the next week, and then put it together in a little report that they can text or email to someone on their team. Now, after you download this shortcut, to set it up, you want to make sure to choose what calendar you want to pull events from, like your work calendar. Actually choose my wife's orchestra schedule so we could see that. And now when I run this, it's going to find any events in the next 7 days, format that nicely with Apple Intelligence, and you get the full weekly breakdown. This person wanted it to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no matter what's on it. And then you'll see there's the event we have with the time. And then you can send this in an email, text message, however you'd like. Automate this to run every Sunday evening, and you'll get your entire week's work events from that calendar. Just make sure to choose the right calendar right here. Another request was to actually automatically text an event, specifically a bill reminder. So this person puts when their bills are due in their calendar. So the first action actually gets calendar events where the day is today, and the title of the event contains the word bill. So if you have an event on November 1st that says electric bill, internet bill, and then what it does is for every event that says bill, it's going to show a notification when this runs and send a text message to someone. This person wanted to send it to their spouse that something is due that day. Then what you can do is automate this shortcut to run every morning. It'll check for that event, make sure the event name actually has the word bill in it, and you'll automatically get a text with that information. Let's actually add an event right now and we'll see if this works. I'm going to add an event called electric bill. Now it shouldn't matter what calendar it's on because this is going to check across all your calendars. All that has to be in the title is the word bill. When I run the shortcut, it should see that. I get a notification with the event name right there in the notification. And if I go to my text messages, you'll see I got a text, hey, this is due today, electric bill. And if there's multiple events, it will list all those events here in the text message. And I actually just changed the shortcut up a little bit because I needed to make sure if there's multiple bills that day that it repeats with each event. So now when you run this shortcut, it'll actually show bills due today and list the bills underneath that. And then the text message will also combine all those events. If you'd wanted to see me build that live and how I made changes to that shortcut, join my Shortcuts community, shortcut.bot. I can do this kind of stuff during our live streams. Also, I'll put a link to get all the shortcuts I mentioned on the Vergecast, which is linked down in the description. These are all the ones I showed to David Pierce, including my watch latest movie trailer shortcut, which finds the official trailers and goes directly to that video on YouTube, how to mute social apps when you open them, my home ETA shortcut, and more. The link to that will also be in the description below. And lastly, I just want to show you a couple shortcuts that I've been building for myself because I've been sharing a lot of shortcuts, as you probably know, and I wanted an organized way to both have a short URL of that shortcut and be able to track how many times people click it. So to do that, I actually created a Bitly account and I used my Bitly API to create those short URLs. So for instance, this right here, you would actually have to put your Bitly token here in the text field. So you have to sign up for your own account for that. But this uses the Bitly API, and I can run this from the share sheet in a shortcut. It actually uses my custom domain, which is a paid Bitly service, but it was worth it for me. And then it will show that Bitly link in a share field, and it will even let me rename that shortcut link. So for instance, maybe I want to share this shortcut in the description so you can set this up with your own Bitly account. Now, all you would have to do is put your Bitly token right here. And if you wanted to do that, here's Bitly, bitly.com. You can go to custom domains and add your own. Again, this is one of their paid services. I think it's like $20 a month, but this is where I have my shortcut.bot domain. Actually, I signed up for their $35 a month. So a little pricey, but if you have a use case where you're shortening a lot of URLs, or you want to track clicks and things like your YouTube description or your podcast show notes, it might be worth it. And then if you go to the settings here on the left, and then down to developer settings, you can generate a token. That token is what you're going to put in the shortcut. But now what I can do is I can share from the share sheet, save shortcut URL. This is my Bitly shortcut. It's going to generate the iCloud link first, shorten it with Bitly using the API. I can rename this. And this is more for my reference because then I can search my Bitly library, which I'll show you in a moment. But I'll tap done, and now that Bitly link is saved to my account, and it brings up the share sheet with the link right there, so I can copy this to my clipboard, message it to someone, save it to my Bear note, whatever I want to do. Now, if I go to the Bitly app on my phone, you'll see there's the Bitly link I just created through my shortcut. And so I have a second shortcut here. Remember, you'll need to put in your token in this text field, but this allows me to search my Bitly links and then quickly copy them right from a shortcut. But I've actually mapped this to my action button. So now when I do my action button, I now get a shortcuts folder because I have a bunch of different things I was doing. But search Bitly links, this is the shortcut where I have my token already saved. I can search for a name. Maybe I want to pull that food tracker that I had. I can just search for it. It's going to show me a list of all the Bitlys that I titled with food tracker. Here's my latest one. I can just tap it. And that brings up the share sheet. I can copy it, send it. Now I can search all my Bitly links and save them super fast. This has been way better than trying to search through my Bear notes or through my YouTube video descriptions for links to URLs. Now I can just save a bunch of them to Bitly, and I can search my entire library that fast. And lastly, this has just been one for my personal use, but if you're an Amazon affiliate or you use Genius Link, and Genius Links helps with like connecting to international Amazon accounts when someone in other countries click on your links, all that stuff. This actually lets me quickly create a Genius Link URL, and if I wanted to create a new group in Genius Link, and quickly create multiple links, I actually have a shortcut for that, so I can select 20 different links. This is going to allow me to name a new group. It's going to create Genius links for every Amazon link I have in that group, and then it's all saved to my account, and this is going to be way faster than copy and pasting links into the Genius website. I'll put a link to the Generate Genius Link shortcut without my tokens and API keys, so if you want to download that, you can. And if you're interested in the Add Group and Generate Link List, let me know in the comments or DM me in the community. Again, that's shortcut.bot. You can join for free, but when you become a paying member, $10 a month or $100 a year, you get access to my weekly live streams and really join me live. That was really fun. I've done it once, gonna do it every Wednesday. Was able to build some shortcuts live for people. And you might be wondering, why did it go from $5 to $10? Well, I quit my job. And so I'm going to do a video on that actually soon, I think. But this is my full-time gig, content creation, YouTube, the community. And so one, I think with the weekly live streams, it's really providing even more value and the replays. And there's actually over 700 people that support it, which is amazing. Thank you all for that. If you already joined at that $5 a month price, that's not going up for you, but trying to make this more sustainable. And the shortcuts request, it's getting a lot, which is amazing. It's tons of ideas and things that I put in my videos, but just needed to raise that bar a little bit. So you can join for $10 a month or $100 a year, shortcut.bot. I appreciate your support. And while you're here, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Shortcuts videos coming all the time, as well as iPhone and iPad features and how-tos, software updates, and I got some smart home videos coming up soon with level lock, light switches, new smart shades, and a ton more. I'll put my last Apple Intelligence Shortcuts video right up here, and another video YouTube thinks you'll like right here. Thank you so much for watching, supporting, and joining the community, and I'll catch you next time.